Did you say Chucky?
What? No, not even close.
Remakes and sequels get a ton of grief. If it's a sequel, you gotta do something different enough to make it stand out. But you better appease the existing fan base or you're gonna hear about it. Go too far off the beaten path and you end up with stuff like Jason Goes to Hell. Now, I thoroughly enjoy that one.
Well, now, see, she is only your lady because she ain't had a taste of the Duke yet.
But it sure pissed off a lot of fans by going damn near Thorn trilogy with our beloved Jason Voorhees. I think it can work well going off the beaten path too. That's how you end up with stuff like the Halloween 3s of the world. Remakes are entirely different, but still a tough proposition. You'll get accused of being creatively bankrupt for not having an original idea, as well as getting lambasted by fans of the original property.
They just laugh at us. And why? Because we love something?
There are some prime examples of things that didn't need a remake and stunk. The Fog is a perfect example of this, as the 1980 original just keeps getting better with age, while the remake deserves to be thrown in that same landfill that all the old ET Atari carts ended up at. 2019's Child's Play, though? It deserves another look, and definitely some credit for being a solid update. Child's Play is an interesting case, as it's an existing property that it's sandwiched between a series of other movies and a currently running TV show. The first 7 films were pretty much the Don Mancini show, with him writing all of them and directing the last 3. He's also the showrunner for the TV series Chucky that will have its 3rd season air sometime in 2023. I'm sure you noticed something too. The series started out as Child's Play and continued that way for the first 3 entries. After that, the titles became Chucky focused, including the TV series being simply titled The Doll's Famous Name. This allowed a remake to be completely separate from the already existing iteration of it, and the movie came out about 2 years after the most recent Chucky film. There were originally plans to do a sequel with this property, but with Mancini having multiple future ideas for movies and the TV series doing very well, we're left with this being an interesting and underrated black sheep. The movie opens up with a commercial of sorts for a buddy doll that helps control all the electronic doodads in your home. This right here is the table setter. The preview alluded to this as well, but this tells you right away that this is going to be a tale of technology gone awry rather than voodoo possession via criminal. I love this. You redo the movie and include the basic story, even retaining some of the names, but you make it your own. This also pushes you in the deep end on the movie's biggest controversy. Brad Dourif is not the voice of Chucky. Dourif is an Academy Award nominated actor who's done tons of other things, including within the horror realm. I mean, look at his amazing performance in Exorcist 3. However, he's always been Chucky. He's Chucky in every movie, and he's Chucky in the TV series. Even his daughter has grown up and become a performer within the Chucky universe. He is Chucky the doll. To that end, there's no character of Charles Lee Ray either. The replacement, though? Mark freaking Hamill. Just give it a chance, guys. He gave an entire generation their Joker and knows how to play sinister. After the commercial, we see why we're getting a messed up doll when a factory worker puts a chip with no safety protocols in the doll before offing himself after he's fired. The soon-to-be murder doll ends up being shipped off, where we're introduced to most of our other principal characters. Karen Barclay works at a generic retail store, and her son Andy, who in this iteration requires a hearing aid, is a bit of a loner. We also meet Karen's jerk boyfriend and a detective named Mike. The casting is really another strong point here. In addition to Hamill as Chucky, we get Tim Matheson as the CEO of the tech company that makes the Buddy dolls, Brian Tyree Henry as the police officer, and Aubrey Plaza as Mrs. Barclay. Now, Plaza's just not for me. I think she seems to play the same notes for every character she is, but here it kind of fits. Credit where credit is due, as she seems like a stressed out single parent trying to get by while finding some happiness. Henry is great as the cop and has just as much charisma as you would hope for after having to follow Chris Sarandon. Of course, Hamill ties it all together as Chucky. The movie doesn't go full beat-for-beat remake, partly because it couldn't, and that's a good thing. While it keeps the basic story of the doll landing in the home of a single mother and her lonely child, it changes course in a lot of good ways. Chucky isn't sinister here because he's a voodoo-knowledgeable serial killer attempting to become human again. He's sinister and truly terrifying because he thinks the things he's doing are in service of making his best friend Andy happy. He sees the violence on the movie they are watching, a great choice with Texas Chainsaw 2, and thinks that playing that way is what they want.
Heads up, bitch.
Andy? Whoa.
When the family cat hurts Andy, the only logical course of action is to kill it. When Andy wishes for his mom's boyfriend to go away, well, you know where I'm going with this. Eventually, this leads the other parts of the story to get involved.
Say this is for Tupac and stab the asshole.
This is for Tupac.
When the police, in this case Mike, start investigating, Andy and his friends ditch the doll before the creepy building electrician finds him and eventually attempts to fix and sell him. The guy is obviously bad news from the beginning, but we really get to see just how far into the creep zone he goes, at least before Chucky kills him. Unfortunately for the rest of the characters, the creepy electrician Gabe was able to fix the issues Chucky was having, and now he is fully functional. By the time Officer Mike goes to arrest Andy, Chucky's too powerful to stop, especially since nobody believed he was evil to begin with. It's far more believable for the police to think that an angry kid would do these horrible crimes where they find all this blood and gore than a doll that they really don't think is doing anything. It's another example of taking the original premise, because Chris Sarandon and the mom don't believe that Chucky is doing anything, but they change it just enough, and it works. That has to be credited to the writer and director. Tyler Burton Smith wrote the screenplay, and it was his first film. He'd done some video game writing with the non-main story things for the game Sleeping Dogs, and then a main credit writing for the movie like Quantum Break. It was the latter that got him the job on Child's Play, and he has a highly anticipated flick coming up called Boy Kills World, starring Jessica Roth of the Happy Death Day movies, and the youngest, creepiest Skarsgård brother Bill. The directing duties were handled by Lars Klevberg, who had gotten some positive attention for the movie Polaroid. While he doesn't have as many things on his upcoming schedule as Burton, he did a good job here. Both of them having their own style, which wasn't really seen by a ton of people before, helped the movie stand out as its own thing and a true remake. The last 20 minutes or so of the movie turn into a technological bloodbath. Chucky has plans to kill Karen on the night they are launching Buddy 2.0, and a whole bunch of customers get caught in the crossfire. Officer Mike is already angry with nothing to lose after his mom was killed, and Chucky has decided that if he can't be Andy's friend, nobody will be. He uses his newly fixed tech to set drones and other Caslin products on everyone in the building, and it's up to Andy and his friends to save his mom and stop Chucky, especially after Mike is incapacitated. This is the kind of tech nightmare that movies of the 60s were trying to warn us about. Self-driving cars going mad, drone robots attacking their masters, and AI deciding what's best for humanity are all horrifyingly put to the test in the last sequence. They find Karen tied up in the back warehouse, and Andy has to battle Chucky to save her. While it's a tense and fun climax, it loses something with Andy being much more capable than the scared little boy he was in the original. Well, that and the CGI. It's the only time in the movie that it's bothersome, but does bring attention to how cool the original movie did everything, utilizing literally every trick in the book to make Chucky appear real. Andy stabs Chucky, and we get the very quick psych he's not dead before he ends up getting shot by the very much alive Mike to end the threat. Andy and his friends make sure to smash Chucky to dust, and of course Caslin takes absolutely zero responsibility. Not only that, but they're still going to make more dolls. I'm sure nothing can possibly go wrong. Look, this isn't your dad's Child's Play, as the saying goes, and that's okay. It's not like any of the other movies in the series, and that's the point of a remake or a reboot. It doesn't try overly hard to wink at the audience with throwbacks to the other movies. It wants to be its own thing, and on that merit alone, it's successful. It has a lot going for it with the previously mentioned story choices, actor choices, and the gore. The gore doesn't mess around here, with limbs being chopped off and literal faces being peeled and launched across lawns. It takes its R rating and reminds you frequently that this is a killer doll. There are a few deaths that are far more bloodless than you'd expect, but I'm sure that it had something to do with needing to tone down certain parts to appease the MPAA. While we never got a sequel, that's not always a bad thing. Rogue AI is and will always be a fear that humans have, but unlike Charles Lee Ray constantly looking for a way to regain his humanity, we don't need a different version of the same AI going mad and looking for new friends. While it's not a perfect film by any means, it does much better than a lot of remakes do, while also being a nice change of pace from the rest of the series. Don't be angry or afraid that it's new or too different. Be angry and afraid that we don't get studios taking more chances like this on existing properties. When you make a run at the series, make sure to pop this in. It's a refreshing look at a beloved classic.